بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما شاء الله وكان دمان إخيارتا وكلا سوغان عالمك دعالديسا Ogaysiis madrasatu Riyaadul Janna online summer classes waxaa bilaaban doona madrasada Riyaadul Janna qaybta online-ka samarka galaasyadii bixi jiray waxaa lagu baranayaa Qur'aan Kariimka hingaadiisa taxfiidkiisa iyo qaybta tafsiirka Qur'aan Kariimka Qur'aanka oo maca tajwiid iyo ahkaamtii tajwiidka oo la barayo jiilka yaryar ay soo koraya iyo xifdintiisa iyo fasirka Qur'aanka sidoo kale xadiidkii nabiga fasirkiisii caqiidadii siiradii ahkaamtii fiqiga islaamka programkan ama barnaamijkan madrasada Riyaadul Janna online summer classes wuxuu bilaabanayaa June 20 ilaa August 20 waxaad kala xiriiri kartaa numberka Shariif Abdullahi 647 618 3558 emailku waa Shariif Abdullahi 81@gmail.com wa SHARIFABDULLAHI81@gmail.com dhammaan dadweynaha ku sugan caalamka dacaladiisa Ruqya Shariif oo kamida talaamiida wax ku baratay madrasatu Riyaadul Janna online waxay noo qeexi doontaa oo noo kala dhigdhigi doontaa ahkaamta zakada ku soo dhawaada.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Ruqya Shariif Abdunur Hassan, and today I will be talking about ahkam zakat. I just wanted to say before, just to read like all of the arkanul salam. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Assalamu alaikum. waan ka go'ay afwan intiisan Ruqya Shariif u gudbin zakada insha Allah masteexan su'aalo waxaan ka weydiinayaa salaada masteexa ma maqashaa
نستحي بحث قدك
way baxde
قدك بحث
ka baxda miya okay ruq
shaqay u socota raali ahoo waqtiga aad ugu yaraa marka shaqay leedahay inta ka horeysay boobsiisa casharka
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Arkanul salam khamsata shahadatu Allah ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammad rasulillah wa iqamus salat wa ita'u zakat wa sawm Ramadan wa hajjul bayt wa nistadahi ghair. These are the 5 pillars of Islam, and it ensures that we stay connected and faithful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that we don't lose sight of our deen. Like I said, the pillar that I will be addressing in this presentation is the 3rd pillar of Islam, which is ahkam zakat. So what is the meaning of zakat? In Arabic, zakat has a lot of meanings, but for our purposes, zakat means to clean something over and over again. Zakat cleanses you from your sins, and we as Muslims do this by giving a portion of our income to the poor, and this is known as paying zakat. So what did the zakat, when did the zakat get started? The zakat got started at the 15th year of Islam, which is the 2nd year of the Hijrah and the 2nd year of the Medina. Why do we have to pay the zakat? To help poor people and give back to the benefit, people, specifically poor people. To give them life, and in our religion, Islam states that everyone has something and that no one is left behind. Especially during Ramadan, Islam makes sure that everyone can celebrate and have something, hence why we pay zakat. So who has to pay the zakat? Any Muslim adult who is mentally stable and who has a certain amount of assets. And this also includes anybody who, like, even if you may not be, like, even if you are mentally stable, or I'm sorry, even if you're not mentally stable and you still have a lot of money, enough to pay zakat, if you're rich or you have a lot of fortunes, then the people who are your guardians have to pay zakat on your behalf. And this, again, is the same thing as if, like I said, like you like are an adult, and if you have money, then you have to pay zakat as well. So, who receives zakat? Somebody who needs assistance. There are 8 kinds of people that can receive zakat. The first one are the poor, meaning low income or indigent. The second one are the needy, which is people that are masakin, meaning someone who is in difficulty. The third are zakat administrators. Fourth, those whose hearts are to be reconciled, meaning new Muslims, as well as Muslims or friends of the Muslim community. The fifth are those that are in bondage, such as slaves. The sixth is people that are debt-ridden, so people that have taken a lot of loans, and they need help repaying those loans. And they can receive zakat to pay the loans as well. The seventh is in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this can be someone who is jihad and is fighting for the goodness of Islam and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then the eighth are the wayfarers, or also known as the travelers. So people who are either traveling or are stranded and traveling with little resources. They can get support as well. So in addition, you don't give zakat to the rich unless they are part of these 8 groups above. And for some, that may not make sense. But what I mean by that is that the first and second one, obviously, if you're poor and if you're needy, then you're not rich. But there are cases in which people do have a lot of money, for example, but they're traveling and they're stranded and they don't have access to the money. So you can pay zakat by supporting them in that way. Or people who like did have a lot of money, but they took out loans and they're in debt right now, right? So that's what I mean by when I say you don't give zakat to the rich unless they are part of those groups. And then, what assets do you have to pay zakat on? So you can pay zakat on livestock, which includes camels, cows, and goats. You can pay zakat using gold and silver. And in this case, obviously, the zakat was started during the time of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and during that time, they didn't have what we now know as currency or money, like cash. So they used gold and silver as their money. So when I say gold and silver, I mean like cash or money or currency that you have. You can also pay zakat using your trade goods, buried treasure, as well as musharid, which is basically like any sort of crops or fruits or vegetables that you get from a farm. And then I just want to say it's also important to note that there's no zakat on animals grazing on public land unless they are livestock. So what are the preconditions? The preconditions for paying the zakat are hawl and nasib. So hawl is you have to have had the asset for at least 1 year, and nasib pertains to the limits of whatever assets that you have. So assets that require both hawl and nasib, which means that you have to have had them for a certain amount of year and you have to have a certain amount of them, are money, livestock, and trade goods. And then assets that only require nasib and that don't require you to have them for 1 lunar year is buried treasure, silver and gold mine, and then any sort of vegetables or fruits or crops that you get from farming. So this is really important. So Howl and Nasib for assets. So what assets do you have to pay zakat on? So like I said, I listed earlier, I said livestock, money, crops and vegetables and all that stuff. But then the previous slide, I was talking about what Howl and Nasib means. So like I said, Howl is basically the requirement or the precondition that you have to have had this asset for 1 lunar year. And then Nasib is the limits or the amount that you have to pay. So for camel, which is under livestock, you have to have a 5 camel limit and you have to have had them for 1 year. For cows is 30 and you have to have had them for a year. And then for goats, it's 40 goats and you have to have had it for 1 year. And then for money or gold and silver, you pay 2.5% of it. So the currency is gold and silver. The nisab for money is the market value of 84.7 grams of gold and 592.9 grams of silver. And when you exchange that, right? So like I said, gold and silver was back in the day of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if you exchange that to what we now know as money, 84.7 grams of gold is about $5,101.05, and 592.9 grams of silver is $462.34. However, it is good to pay zakat for money. And if you have this money, so like even though it says that the limit is 5,000, if you have had $3,000 for more than a year and you don't need it for anything, you're not saving it for anything, it's just like there, it is recommended that you pay zakat on that 3,000 and you don't wait for the 5,000, if that makes sense. And the reason why this is the case is because the whole purpose of zakat is to help our community, is to help people in need and to give back, so that people are not left behind, and is to benefit poor people as well. So if you are able to, if you have $3,000, then it is recommended that you pay zakat on that amount and you don't wait for the limit. And then if you have crops or fruits, you don't have to wait for a year. So what that means is that there isn't a howl, but the nasib for it is you have to have had 609.84 grams. So the equivalent of that is basically like if you have a certain amount of crops or fruits or vegetables, you don't